And when you talk about the hyper-vigilant, or how moms are so burnt out and they're overwhelmed, and there's like, oh my gosh, how do you balance masculine and feminine, or like, my career and then being a parent and a mom, right? It's so that it's like, what's most important? And when we can go to bed and like put our head on the pillow and you're like, I spent those 10 or 20 minutes of magical moments with the kids.
Welcome to the Raising Wild Hearts podcast. I'm so glad you're here listening in as I get to the heart of the matter with the world's leading experts and authors in personal growth, transformation, positive psychology, and more. If you're a change maker, a cycle breaker, a revolutionary envisioning a more beautiful way to live, work, and play, well, me too. I'm your host, Ryan Watkin, and for the past decade, I've been alchemizing challenges to find the calm in the chaos. I believe we can change the world by starting at home in our own minds and hearts. And my hope is that these conversations are a light on your path. Let's go, wild ones. Hello, friend. Welcome back to the Raising Wild Hearts podcast. So happy you're here. This is Ryan, your host, and today I'm sitting down with Courtney Cote. This conversation is seriously so powerful. Courtney and I went many different places. We talk about the alchemy of motherhood. We talk about family values. We talk about overcoming trauma, childhood, legacy, and so much more. The conversation really just went so many beautiful and unexpected places, and I really hope you feel this deep wisdom resonating within as you listen to this conversation, as you ponder what in your life needs to be looked at, healed, alchemized to make your life happier and more fulfilled. I know I got a ton of inspiration from Courtney's story and the wisdom that she shares. Courtney Cote is the founder and CEO of I Love Me Unconditionally. She is emerging as a beacon of light and transformation, and she's dedicated to empowering mothers and breaking generational cycles. She embarked on a lifelong odyssey of self-discovery and healing that would shape her into the professional mom, coach, and advocate for maternal well-being that she is today. Her dedication to personal growth is exemplified through her participation in transformative workshops like Landmark Forum, Tony Robbins, Unleash the Power Within, and Date with Destinies. These experiences have all enriched her journey, providing valuable insights and tools for self-discovery and empowerment. She's also pursuing a certification, I think she's done by now by the time you're listening to this, with Dr. Shefali, becoming a conscious parenting coach. So Courtney is very knowledgeable. She's so filled with wisdom from her own life experience. And that to me just makes a wonderful coach, someone who has walked through the fire and then someone who has also studied and gained the knowledge they need to guide others on their journey. And you guys know, I say it all the time, the answers are all within you. And yet it's still so helpful to have these mirrors in our life, to listen to the podcast, to read the books, to do and listen to all the things. But at a certain point, there is an actionable step that we need to take, that you need to take, and that is looking within. The answers are already within you. If you're going through a challenge, if you're walking through a hard season of life, I want you to know, just like I needed someone else to tell me this when I was walking through those challenges, I need you to know that you have every single thing you need inside of you already to be successful, to be happy, to feel more joy in the day. So I hope this conversation inspires you in that knowing and helps you take one meaningful action step this week towards a life filled with more joy. All right, let's jump into my conversation with Courtney Cote. Just kidding. Okay, actually, before we jump into the interview, I wanted to let you guys know I did not have my microphone that I usually record for this episode. Before we got on to hit record, I was like, I don't know why you can't hear me. We're doing the whole tech check thing and I'm going through everything and I'm like, I don't know, I guess we're just gonna have to pivot. So I ended up using my regular old computer microphone. And so the sound isn't what you're used to, but it's definitely not terrible. So heads up, it might sound a little different. Also, I wanted to let you know that I found the problem after we recorded. It was that my microphone actually wasn't plugged in, and I had thought that I plugged it in, but it was actually my headphones that I plugged in. So, yeah, super silly moment for me. One of those little giggles behind the scenes. Okay, let's jump in for real this time.
Please note, the opinions and perspectives of guests on the Raising Wild Hearts podcast do not necessarily reflect the views of Ryan Watkin or anyone associated with the Raising Wild Hearts podcast.
Hi, Courtney. Welcome to the Raising Wild Hearts podcast.
Thank you. Nice to see you, Ryan.
Yeah, you too. I'm so happy to be here with you today for what I know will be a profound conversation. And the place I felt really called to jump this talk off is to talk about how motherhood was one big, like, giant call forward for me personally. And there was so much alchemy with each of my children being born, especially my first, because there was the birth of a mother then, me, right? And so I found myself having to wade through all these challenges and ways of being in the world. So I'm curious for you, Courtney, how has motherhood alchemized you?
Wow. Yeah, what a great question. I love that. Alchemized me. It has actually led me on a journey of alchemy, mastering self. My girls, I am so grateful. They're 9 and 11. I wake up every morning so grateful for their health, right? For just overall, like these beautiful miracles of love. Um, but they teach us, right? Like we have to be so patient. And my father was a Marine, taught me tough love. That didn't work for, I don't feel like it works in some ways, but not in all ways. So, then my mother was beautifully uh, nurturing and warm. And, I have almost like two sides of the spectrum. So I had like this beautiful kind of like, where should I go? Right. Like, so I kind of had this true north in my journey of finally like spiritual to spiritual. Like there just were two souls. It's ego if I'm going to like dictate more or less. And if I just guide, then they will find their way. But it takes a lot of healing. It took a lot of healing for me to just even get to that even concept of like spirit to spirit. Let me just guide them versus yeah, like, oh, because I said so, right? So it's just this beautiful new awakening of, wow, guys, you had it maybe not all wrong, but it just didn't work as best as it could have. And so for me, I've learned a lot about myself, and now I get to share that with the girls, right? Here's our values. Here's our beautiful unconditional love, forgiveness, respect. Like we literally really live in our values every single day we talk about them. So there's a lot of specifics, but I think that's kind of the fast and furious.
Yeah. So much has changed in the decades since we were born. I'm 42, and so
43.
there you go. So we're same. And it was very much like children were to be seen and not heard. We were kind of just there in the background. Life wasn't focused on us. We were kind of on the outskirts of life. I remember my grandmother once telling me when I became a mom, like, oh, honey, you were here first. And I get the wisdom that she was trying to impart on me, but basically she was saying like your needs matter more. And yes, my needs do matter. And I've been on a journey to, discover my needs, meet my own needs, all of that. And also, like, there's so much beauty in revering our children. I am so in awe and reverence of children, just like the journey that they're on. And I always say, like, it's not hard. It's not easy to be a kid. Like being a kid is no joke. Like we have all gone through the freaking ringer at some point in our lives. And for many of us, that was childhood. So when you describe your mom as this nurturer and your dad is kind of this like hard ass, those are my words. It's so interesting that you had this balance, this equanimity in the middle that you could choose from. One of the questions I have for you is about balancing your ambition with your being. So how did those two parts, that masculine and that feminine, like, meet in you, and how do you balance those things today? And model that for your two girls as well?
Wow. So I feel like I didn't truly get into my femininity until 40s, right? Like feminine and 40. I was a tomboy. I was a jock. I was an athlete. I was an only child, of course, of a daughter of a Marine. I had to do everything myself. I kind of laugh and say I came out of the womb changing my own diapers, right? Like my middle name is improvise, like get resourceful. So I feel like, and that didn't serve me in my former first marriage, the father of the children, right? Like he's a Navy helicopter pilot. And I was always masculine because I didn't feel safe. There was a lot of trauma there. And so thank you, right, for that beautiful gift of that marriage and these beautiful kids. And I'm so grateful today for it all. However, like my feminine and my flow and my like surrendering to like let them provide and to, from a male female perspective, for me in my masculine, feminine, like yin and yang, like that is a really crazy balance. But I do yoga, right? Like I am a yogi. I've been doing it for 20 years. So I think it just was a little bit easier for me to navigate and kind of through those waters of foreign territory. But I got it. Like I figured it out. And it's still a balance because I'm a go-getter. I have masculine tendencies. I'm like, I'm gonna go do it myself. Right. Like there's just a lot of that still in there. But then I'm like, but let me just soften the edges. Let me just, oh, you know what? Let's just go with the flow. Let me feel it because feeling is healing, So I think the best example I could provide, just self-care, feminine, is my girls, like they'd always want to take a bath. And to your grandmother's point, like, yes, I need a bath and then I'll be great. But the girls wanted to come in too. And this was when they were really little, like 3 and 5. And, I learned before it was, yeah, sure, come on in. And I'd be like, oh, I just wanted 10 minutes. And then it became, oh yeah, babes, you can come in, but just give mom a 10, 20 minutes and then you can come in. I didn't say no. I just said not right now. So let me have 20, then you guys can come in and then it's a beautiful win-win. And that's a boundary. So they first see me taking care of myself, then they second have a boundary. And then third, it's like, what a recipe for success, like short-term and long-term. So kind of like that's the best example that I can kind of come up with just in terms of literally feminine and flowing in the water. And that took me a long time to get. And it's like still mastery, right? Like we're never done, still going. Yeah. But it's a
Totally.
beautiful awareness and like these new goggles. Like I have these like love glasses on, these heart-shaped like frames. And I'm like, oh, I see life differently, which is just magical in itself to even get here.
Yeah, it is. And you've been on quite the journey. You grew up in challenging circumstances, as we alluded to, as we all do. And you overcame this like massive trauma and this, these really, really hard years of your life. What do you think internally provided you the strength or the perseverance to keep going through that? Because so many people don't. So many people, just sleepwalk through life. They don't go for their dreams. They continue to pass on like harmful legacy,
Mm.
generational trauma. What was it inside of you? What was that spark that helped you rise from those ashes? Hey, it's me, Ryan. So, something I do every single day to invest in my growth, besides connecting with the humans on this podcast, obviously, is reading. Reading is where it all started for me. I was 5 when I became obsessed with books, writing them, reading them, collecting them. I love how I can get inspired with new ideas and stories and ways to grow. That's why I ask all my guests what they're reading. And finally, you can check out all the book recommendations from the experts and authors on the show in one place at raisingwildhearts.com/books. There are some life changers in there like You Are the Placebo and a few hidden gems like Sacred Motherhood and Living, Loving, and Learning. So If you want to get your hands on your next great read, check out the full list by heading to raisingwildhearts.com/books. Okay, back to the show.
Such a powerful question. I don't honestly think, yeah, you've worded this in a way that is really fun for me to get there for you. My answer is twofold. I feel my father, like I'm so grateful for that Marine mentality of, grit and resilience and, keep going and you'll live and right, like this beautiful grit. And then I almost have emotion because that was beautiful confidence that I gathered and I created and I learned, and that's beautiful. But the other side of the coin, right, is, as we know now, is self-worth. And I lacked that piece. I could go and do karaoke, no drinking, and I'm like the life of the party. But then the self-worth piece, the other side of the coin, is where there was a void. There was a not a acknowledgement or an awareness, or like I was like, well, I love myself, like I'm not going to stand for this. But did I really love myself and know that I was worthy and know that I was good enough and know that I was all of these things? And so I think that grit like pushed me through, and I was like, I must do this because my parents, they struggled a little bit, and I'm like, I'm not going to be like them. So that was a beautiful indirect lesson. So I think, yeah, it's twofold. It's like you are so grateful for those lessons and those values, but then you're also like, ooh, I had to learn the self-worth piece, but gosh, I wouldn't trade it in for the world, how painful that was. But now I get to turn that trauma into transformation and then share the wealth, and that makes me who I am today. So there was such a beautiful journey of learning there. I wouldn't trade it in for the world, as painful as it all was.
So good. And I love how to me, I'm hearing this interplay between the masculine and the feminine still there. Like you had this strong masculine presence around you going like, you'll live, suck it up, buttercup, like push through, persevere. And then you had this nourishing side also, which I relate to in a way that I feel like a lot of women do right now. And as we kind of heal this femininity that many of us are stepping into, I believe it's part of the work you're doing. It's part of the work I'm doing. And, for me, I feel like it's been passed down generation after generation of like, the women aren't worth anything other than being caretakers and mothers and, household, providers. Like, and so there's this weird thing because we have an opportunity to be out in the world now. We have an opportunity to step into our gifts and to really be present in those and share those with others in a way that generations before us, like they didn't have. And so that deep self-worth wound for me, I'm hearing that it's like coming perhaps from that wounded feminine. What do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Like there was just no role models in that regards. And I think that's what we have the gift of giving our kids. And then we get to leave that legacy. So it is a beautiful song and dance and a balanced blueprint, right, for these beautiful next generation to be able to go and live their life in a harmonious, like what's true to me? What do I want to do? Not what everybody else wants me to do. It took me 40 years old to be like, 40 and F it, right? Like I'm now going to do what I'm going to do for once, right? But that doesn't mean I'm selfish. It just means let me fill up my cup first so then I have more overflow for everyone else, including my kids and everyone else.
Yeah, totally. It's one of the reasons so I've got two girls and a boy, and it's one of the reasons that when I sense or kind of observe my girls specifically being a little rebellious or saying like, no, I'm not doing that, or like pushing back really hard on something, I sometimes, in an ideal world, in my centered, self moment, I will take a step back and I'll like think and see and sense like what's going on here. And I want them to have that fuck you attitude, not a fuck you attitude. That's not right. I want them to have this like questioning attitude, this ability to say, that doesn't sound right or feel right to me. What else? Like, how about this? Like, I really, really, it's a practice for me. Cause, I want to be like, well, you have to do this because I said so. And everybody else in the family is like trying to go to bed. And so you got to go to bed or whatever it is, that's a good example. But yeah, it's one of the reasons I kind of let them rebel a little bit. Unpopular opinion, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm hearing you saying, and it's a beautiful example, just empowerment, right? I don't want to stifle them. I want them to have a voice. I want them to feel like it's a safe space with no judgment. And I think when you get up in the, when you have an environment where you have to be a perfectionist and you can't be, this way or that way, and you're just like, well, like, who am I? Like, I was a chameleon, right? Like, I was this beautiful social butterfly. I think about high school, and I never had like one click, right? I was always like just going from click to click to click to click. And I think my aptitude tests were always like all average, right? I'm never like excelling in anything. And I'm like, who am I? What am I supposed to be doing? Right. And then you're like, why am I chameleon? Like, why? So what do I want? And I can't remember. That would be a great like journaling. I'll meditate on that later. But like, at what point did I say, what do I want? Right. And I truly think it was probably post marriage or like post girls, and like just when you're in that whole thing of like kids, gosh, our purpose in our life is just to keep them alive. Like the first birthday is really a party for us celebrating we kept them alive the first year. Like holy moly, it's just unbelievable. So yeah, I feel and I hear you saying just empowerment, and we're just creating this new beautiful safe sanctuary where they can have a voice and lead in the direction that they were divinely here on earth to do, right? We were born for more. It takes 1,000 bazillion things to happen for us to be born. And we're all unique in our own way. And it's just to shine that light and to not dim your light. Oh gosh, I give that to the girls all the time. Like, we're going to have haters no matter what. We're going to have lovers no matter what. But like, if they don't like you, I say, thank them. Thank you for qualifying early. I didn't want to spend any more time or years here. I'm going to now pivot my energy over here. So it's just like, just an interesting pivot of a mindset, Same. You're very
Yeah.
similar. Yeah.
So similar. And I resonate with this chameleon vibe so much. And this is one of the big works that I've been diving into, I would say, in the last like handful of years is who is like this authentic version of me? Because I thought it was this and I thought it was that, but actually it's this, and not like overthinking it, but really like feeling into that. Like, when do I feel expansive? And just the other day, it was like a normal day, like a Tuesday, nothing like notable about it, other than I was out walking the dog and I was like, I am like so like this is so pleasurable. The sun was on my face. There was like a breeze. The weather was perfect. My dog is just like so cute, trotting along beside me with his tail wagging. And I'm like, this is it. This is it. And there was nothing happening, nothing outside of me, no big party, just a walk with the dog. And I'm like, oh my God, I want to feel this. I want this all the time. This is what I want. I want to feel alive. I want to feel, just that energetic, like flowing through me. And so, like, what do you have to speak on the many, many, many of us who looked externally for the worth, the fitting in, the next thing to fill our cup, when the answer, I think you and I both know at this point, but for everybody listening, the answer, like, it's an inside job. So how do you feel that way that you want to feel every day? For me, it's alive and flowing and easy and energetic. How about you?
Yeah, all of those. Peace, mindfulness, presence is the best gift we could give, right? So again, my dad was suicide. I don't know if I mentioned this, but my dad was suicidal off and on my whole life. And for the lack of presence, for being physically there, but mentally and emotionally not available, that takes a toll on, especially on a child, because you make up your stories. The brain goes into crazy, the hippocampus, and you have all these crazy negative stories that are not even reality. My dad loved me. Like I was the sparkle in his eye, everyone used to say. He passed January of 2022. And it's just, yeah, it's for moms. I'm like, we're, I'm giving you permission to not white knuckle the steering wheel, like literally taking your kids to soccer, like soccer moms. I'm like carpooling. Who cares if we're 5 minutes late? Like, hey girls, we're doing the best we can, right? Like, we're not winning any medals getting you here on time. If we pull in on two wheels, what's the difference between two wheels and screeching versus chilling and relaxing, like flow right
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
I'm like, just enjoy the beautiful, exactly. Like I'm always telling the girls, there's two horses. We're in Kentucky, like thoroughbred capital of the world. And they're so engrossed with horses and they're horseback riding and they love it. A girl in a barn, there's something about that. So they're like, I'm like, girls, there's two horses on a beach. Which one do you want to be? The one that's like racing on the beach with the sand in its hooves and the wind in its mane and like smelling the salt water, feeling the warmth on its skin and it's, enjoying and just loving life. And then the other one, horse number two, is like in a derby racing, trying to get to the next, like beating this horse and like I can't do anything. It doesn't even hear or anything. It's literally got its blinders on to life. The beautiful, magical, divine everything has the blinders onto life, and all he wants to do is compete against that other horse and get to the next like step. But you're missing all of those beautiful like little divine moments. And so I'm like, just choose. You get to choose. And I'm just like, and it could be a weird example. They could be fighting, and I could just be like, girls, I'm just like values. And then what's most important, right? Horse number one or horse number two. And I just continue to go back to that one example so they can be like, huh, you're right. Am I competing? Right? Or am I literally truly valuing the deep love and connection I have with my sister right now? Like, what's more important? And so it's really just that simple, right? My father, he was suicidal for like a lot of reasons. I realized he just, if he lived in his values, which he was so good at preaching, but he didn't embody them, right? I don't feel like he truly felt it. He was like, oh, gratitude and grateful, and I'm cynical about gratitude forever. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I felt it in a Tony Robbins Unleash the Power Within like seminar. And I just was like, oh my God, there it is. That's it. That's it. I was like, all these years, like, oh, I could like cry just thinking about it, going back there. That's it right there. And it's now they're saying gratitude is actually healing. It's changing our DNA. Like when we can just wake up in the morning and just have a massive feeling of gratitude, not just like, writing it down. I used to write it down and be like, okay, this isn't really serving me. It's just like an exercise. Now I don't even step foot out of the bed until I feel gratitude and I have a smile on my face, and it sets the intention for the rest of the day. So that was a long-winded answer, but that's my, again, fast and furious.
Yes, please. Yeah, all of it. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I am crying also because I know that feeling, that instant, oh my God, there it is. And so for everybody listening, I want you this week to pay attention to an oh my God, there it is moment. And the oh my God, there it is moment comes from inside of you. So, you might be out in nature. You might be walking your dog. You might be on the beach. You might be inside cooking a meal. You might be in so many different places. And I just want you to tune in to that internal world because that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about that internal place where the peace and the safety and the fulfillment is resourced from. And Courtney, I am obsessed with your horse metaphor. And I'm going to share that with my girls as well, who also, they're 10 and 8. So they're just like a year behind your girls, and they're obsessed with horses too. And they've been begging me to horseback ride. And I've been like, I don't know. I've kind of been a little limiting about it. Oh, we live in Florida. There's not too many places. There's this, there's that. But this conversation just makes me want to like give them freaking horseback riding lessons so much. That desire in them is telling them something. And so that metaphor is perfect for me and for them. I'm going to share that.
Oh, please do. Yeah, it's such a good one. It's
Yeah.
such a good one. There's something else in there that you said, and I wanted to just sprinkle in for my father. How I realized was right before he passed. He was telling me about all these stories. We had some time to connect really, truly. And during COVID, he moved down from New Hampshire. So it was kind of the silver lining. I used to call it Kentucky. But like now I love Kentucky because I had this epiphany of like, holy F, if I hadn't moved here, my dad hadn't moved down, and I came from California, like I never would have had those beautiful conversations in like 2 years with my father. Like it's like the silver lining. So I love Kentucky. Or in Lexington. And yeah, the conversation that we had was he externally looked for validation. He externally looked elsewhere. He loved me unconditionally. He worked at Easter Seals with special needs. He wouldn't hurt a fly, but he would actually consider hurting himself because he didn't truly love himself. He never was taught that. His parents, again, Great Depression, World War II, military, they were like, never even told him that they loved him or that they were proud of him. And so my heart like breaks and has so much empathy for him. And he did the best he could with the compassion. Like when we learn the compassion and we show up curious, like, like, why are they like that? And you kind of, pull this thread into this beautiful chain of analysis and sweater of the grandparents. Gosh, you'll learn so much in there. And so I just realized that he just didn't love himself unconditionally. So my website, my company name, like everything is I love me unconditionally, because no one says that and no one does that for themselves. They love their kids unconditionally. We love our dogs unconditionally. But what about ourselves? Like, what a concept, right? And so what does that even mean? There's so much in there. I mean, we've sprinkled in and chat about some of that today, but when you really feel that, that's when our actions are different. Like alcohol, I used to binge drink. Now I'm like feeling guilty when I have a drink because I'm like, oh gosh, I'm so sorry. My poor temple, like my poor, beautiful body, right? Like there's just a lot of things we're learning today. And there's a lot of different perspectives once you feel like Whitney Houston, like the greatest love of all is learning to love yourself. I used to belt that song out. And now first time I felt it and was singing it, I fell to the floor like Rory McIlroy winning the freaking Masters. And I was just like, oh, oh, no
Oh,
wonder, no wonder this is
yes.
my favorite song. Oh, like, oh my gosh, it's literally the best effing song in the entire world. And I knew it, but I didn't feel it until I felt it. And then I'm like, I need to sing this from the mountaintops, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's the freaking gift, that unconditional love. That's the yeast to the bread of life of happiness. And so for me to witness my father all those years, and then for us to figure it out days before he went into the hospital, and he actually said, I have a dream. I want to live 19 more years to be 90. He went in and got diagnosed with pancreatic cancer the next day. It was around Christmas, and he passed 12 days later. So it was like we had freed each other. Our souls were freed before he passed. And then he came to visit me in my dream 2 days after he passed, because I got COVID and I couldn't be with him, if you can imagine, the last days of his passing. So he came to see me in my dream, and he stood up in the wheelchair that I used to push him around in the VA. And he goes, well, hello, Courtney Cote. And he stood up out of the wheelchair and he hugged me for 5 minutes, didn't let go. I was like, and every time in the past for 43 years or 42 years, he'd be like, okay, that's enough, right? This big Marine, this huge 6'3" big Marine that wouldn't freaking take physical touch or love. And then in the dream, he hugged me for 5 minutes and didn't let go. And someone was like, oh my God, that was a visit. Like that was the visit. That was him. And I was just like, okay, that's cool. So that's the magic, that's the beauty, that's this world. And we're just missing that if we're too hyper vigilant or perfectionist, or we're all human. We're doing the best we can, but yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot in there of the journey. So I wouldn't trade it in for the world. I miss him every single day. But he comes out, and I could write a book on the things that, like, where he's shown up. It's wild. Like, we should have another podcast just on that alone, because I think it would be massively inspirational for people to be more mindful and be present, and then they'll actually see the energy, because he's still here. The energy is just different, you know?
Yes. So much there, starting with Rory McIlroy, down on the 18th, the 18th green for the second time that day, and winning in a playoff. It was a big, big, big moment in his career. And when he was doing that, oh, I have so much reverence now for the masculine,
Mhm.
and so much awe of what they, meaning men and the masculine presence, carries on their shoulder, something
Yeah.
that your father carried from years and years of this generational hardship, this, not very loving, environment that he was in. And men are carrying so much in our society. And I am healing that within myself, because I didn't grow up with my dad, like my biological dad. And so for decades, I just had this like really feeling of angst against men. And so to see him in that moment, it was so profoundly healing for me. And I looked at my husband through different eyes, because that's how he comes home after a hard day, after a day of out there in the world, like not battling literally for us, but battling metaphorically for his family. And I'm just like, holy shit, there's so much that each of us are carrying. And so to have this like mutual respect of both of these aspects of society is just so, so cool. And for me right now, it's big work to be hanging in that equanimity, hanging in that middle place.
It's very conscious, um, awakened, spiritual, to live in that space. And I have to tell the girls, so this is another one you may love. The girls, like, are so annoyed by me, because they're like, "Mommy, what time is it?" And I'm like, "Now." They're like, "No, Mom, really, what time is it?" I'm like, "Now." "No, Mom, really, really, I need to know now." And they're like,
Totally.
"No." So, but one day, they're gonna be like, "Oh, no
Yep.
wonder," right? It's that
Yep.
same, parents are like so annoying until you finally get it, and then you just crumble of empathy or compassion, or just epiphanies, popcorn moments, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that'll be fun. And then so it's here and now. So I'm like, "Girls, where are you?" "Here." "What time is it?" "Now." "Here and now."
Yep.
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 So it's so simple.
So simple. I love that we can indoctrinate our kids with mantras like that, because when I started hearing about that, my girls were really little. So I had these toddlers running around going, what time is it? Here, now. Like, and I love it. And I actually have a video of one of them, and I'm saying, "What time is it?" And she says, "Here." And I said, "Where are you?" And she's saying, "Now." She's like purposely, and like, switching them to drive me nuts, because I wanted her to perform on camera and probably show somebody how evolved my children are. And whatever. It was kind of an egoic thing, but I thought that was so hilarious. And I love, love, love that. Where are you? Here. What time is it? Now. It's such a simple and effective mantra
Yeah.
to curb anxiety, to curb depression, to
Absolutely.
curb all these things that make us kind of feel uncomfortable in the moment. Like, here we are. This is it. This is all we've got. And I'm in this middle season of my kids, like still being young, but on the cusp of being like older, on the cusp of wanting more freedom, on the cusp of, eventually like flying the nest. And sometimes I just look around and I'm like, oh my God, this is it. I'm, this is it. There's no, there's no then, there's no when. This is it now. And I feel so grateful for being in this really messy middle place. And I feel like I'm extending it, like I'm time bending and allowing myself to really, really be in the thick of it. And I'm not saying that it's easy. And I'm not saying that there aren't specific challenges that come up day to day and week to week. However, what I am saying is that I've noticed the more I'm able to ground into this is the work right now. It's not the college acceptance. It's not next year's school tuition. It's not the soccer trophy or the, teacher training that I want to do. It's none of it. None of it. It's here right now. And so that's such a good reminder for all of us.
Yeah. And when you talk about the hyper vigilant or how moms are so burnt out and they're overwhelmed and there's like, oh my gosh, how do you balance masculine and feminine, or like, my career and then being a parent and a mom, right? It's so that it's like, what's most important? And when we can go to bed and like put our head on the pillow and you're like, I spent those 10 or 20 minutes of magical moments with the kids, quality time, no technology. Dinners are massively important for us. We sit down at least 4 times a week. It's like statistically proven, ask ChatGPT, like increase in teenage, like just their whole dietary is amazing in the future. So I guess there's, a decrease in teenage pregnancies, decrease in teenage substance abuse, a decrease in obesity, mental health disorders, just for giving them that beautiful unity and connection, because that's what we're all looking for, is deep love and connection. And when we're feeling heard and validated and nurtured, seen, not just heard, or heard, not just seen, it's like, that's it. My cousin did an essay on family dinners and like got a scholarship more or less into college. Like, it's a big thing, but it's so undervalued. It's so undervalued. Yeah, it's unbelievable. There was one other thing in there that I wanted to touch upon, but yeah, anyways. Or
Yeah.
anyway.
Tell me when it comes back in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
I love that family dinner piece. And to add to that, you know, this is like I often look at like, okay, I just said there's nothing in the future, but I often still consider like the work we do with toddlers and school age kids as like preparation or like a foundation for a lifelong flourishing relationship, right? And so the way that we get our kids to want to sit down to family dinner is by letting the toddler throw the rice and be naked and have sauce all over his face and be silly and be like splashing the whatever it is on the table. And like literally it's messy and also figuratively because you're going like, oh my God, can't they just like sit down and eat? My oldest went through a period, I think she was like 7, where she just could not put her butt into a chair. Like she would be like fidgeting and have one knee on the bench and she's moving back and forth. And my husband and I were like, oh my God, this is driving us bonkers. But him and I had a conversation at the end of the day of like, what's important? Is it fine that she runs into the room and gets a bite and like hears us chatting and being together and then runs back and like does another Lego piece? What the fuck ever. Like, this is not the hill we're going to die on to make our 7-year-old sit down and break the connection with her and basically like give her shame for her body not being able to sit down because she's got so much energy. And that's beautiful. Like, and so like we need to practice when our kids are little and young, like however they show up at the table is how they show up. And it's not worth having them sit down with their hands in their lap and their elbows off the table to feel like we're training some sort of like polite robots. I mean, there is a place for etiquette. Like, I get it. We want to take our kids to nice places, some of us, like we do. But there's like also like there's some give and take that really has to be there. And I hope that that's the foundation, that our kids are going to want to come and sit down and see what's for dinner and serve themselves and take what they want and just like feel the nourishment from the food, yes, but also from that like collective energy around the table, right?
Yeah, it's pick your battles, like what's most important. And I think when we have our values, um, Amazon has like wall decals and you can put them on your, like we have scripture almost, but it's our values on the walls. And the girls see those. And when I'm like, girls, you're not operating like in respect right now, and it takes it off of mean mama and it goes to, are you in alignment with your values right now? I'm just inviting you to consider, right? Are you open to some coaching, and or are you, do you think you're maybe in alignment with your values right now? And sometimes they're not open to it. And I'm like, okay, let me know when you are, and if and when. But it's just a really interesting, yeah, it's if we don't have our true north, if we don't know what our values are, then right, corporations have them, families need them. They need them. It's a necessity. It's our nucleus of our family. And I think I was going to say, with, you said egotistical in one example, but I actually would love to like reframe that and say, in your case, I agree that it's bumpers. The mantras are bumpers. We could be like, we're dictating in mantras, but to me, it's like virtual reality and putting those boundaries and bumpers into play. Then they have their free for all and they get to learn and grow, right? It's like the flower box. Like you got to have a pot with beautiful fertilizer and soil and then just water and nurture with the sun. So I think there's a difference between ego, which is in my eyes dictating and like, no, it's my way or the highway, and there's just no room for conversation. So I'm totally in agreement with you. I actually, when you said ego, I would say that that was a beautiful bumper of empowerment and like guiding, spiritual guiding. Like mantras are mantras, like it's traditional, right? There's some good ones out there, and we need to ensure that we're ingraining our girls and boys with, beautiful, positive incantations, because the brain's tricky. The brain
Yeah.
is tricky. So we have to just continuously, Dr. Daniel Amen's a great guy. He has automatic negative thoughts, ants. And I'm always like, girls, is that 100% true? Is that really true? And they're like, oh, I guess not. I'm like, okay, well, like, just as long as you know that maybe there's a possibility of the other side of the coin. So it's a really fun, just asking questions, right? Continuously, we can be the kids and saying, why, right? Tell me more. Why? Like we just show up like a 5-year-old to them. And then it's like, then they get to continue to think. So I just love everything that you said. But I think at the end of the day, yeah, mantras are boundaries, and kids need boundaries. They thrive off of boundaries, but it's from not only a safety standpoint, tangibly, but a safety standpoint, intangibly, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
all of it,
I
all of it.
I totally. And I think that's where many parents do maybe miss the mark a bit, where, they were raised by authoritarian parents and they want to be not that. And so they
Mhm.
swing the pendulum to the other side and they become permissive. We see that. We see that in Target. We see that at the playground. We see that everywhere. And
Mhm.
so it I loved the analogy or the metaphor of the flower pot too. Like we set the container. We set
Mhm.
the container. And then
Mhm.
within the container, they can, bounce around and make mistakes and, you know, play with some calculated risk and climb a tree. And, they can have, depending on, your family's limits, that makes some people cringe. They're like, climb trees? No, but that's an easy example for me of like, I didn't climb trees as a kid because I don't know. My parents thought it was unsafe and dirty and who knows what else. And now I'm watching my kids climb these top of trees, and I have trained myself to say, like, do you feel safe up there? Because
Mhm.
down here, okay, I might be feeding my mind these thoughts that's making me feel some sort of anxiety or nervousness or and it, I could have this reaction of like, oh my God, you're gonna hurt yourself. Or I can have this reaction of how do you feel in your body? Again, the empowerment piece, like the inviting them to tune in. How does that feel way up there? You know?
Yeah, and feeling is healing. And when I learned that, like, wait, what? I actually get the permission to feel because I was brought up like, what being mad's not going to get you anywhere. Being sad's not going to get you anywhere. That's not going to do you any good. Right. So it's just like, okay. So I learned to like gaslight myself, like literally. If I got hurt, I'd be like, well, at least it's not as bad as getting a gunshot wound. Right. Like I would just gaslight myself. I can remember, like sports, high school, college, it's just crazy. Like, I'm like, I used to do that to myself, but that's because I learned. So it's okay. Now we're going to unfuck the fuckery, undo the doing, as I call it. And now we have to literally give ourselves this beautiful 2.0 upgrade. But it's not like we're transforming into someone that we've never seen before. We're just getting back. We're shedding the layers. We're shedding the shit. And we're just coming home to self. And so I think when people are like, oh gosh, I don't want to pull up that hood and look at what's, I'm scared to see what's under. It's scary. It can be scary for some people, but I think we just have to be ready and we have to just, there's got to be a bigger reason, right? When the consequences are bigger than the change itself, that's when people change. And so until then, we can lead a horse to water, but we can't make them drink, right? So
Yeah. Yeah. That made me think of this word that I'm in love with, remembering. And I was like playing with this word the other day, and I'm like, for some reason, the word dismembering came into my mind. And I'm like, okay, so if remembering is the opposite of dismembering, I mean, if you think of dismembering, it's like, losing limbs. And when we remember, we bring these parts of ourselves back online, this higher self, this soul, this eternal spiritual energy, which we are, and we're able to live more from that place, right? We're not enlightened masters. I probably won't be. I'm not going to speak for you, but but this go round, I'm remembering how to bring as much in alignment as I can. And that makes me think of legacy. And I really, really sense, Courtney, that your legacy will be ending generational trauma, something that's super obviously close to my heart as well. So I just want to know, like, the easy question before we start to wrap up, like, what's the plan? Like, how are we going to do it? How are we going to end the generational trauma?
I think it's just being, right? Like, I think the world has been about doing and doing and doing. And I'm like, I have to go do this to get worth. I have to go do this to get love. And I think at the end of the day, it just comes back to being. I think the legacy is, with COVID, I think it's ripped the rug out from underneath a lot of people, you know, and we touched a lot today on mindfulness and I love me unconditionally and forgiveness and shame and guilt and like to just leave the legacy of there's nothing I need to be or do in order to feel worth or to be like a God's child or to have love or it's just like I get to just be amazing because I am Courtney Cote, right? I get to just be in my values. And that is my identity. No one can take that away from me. And so there's something magical and empowering about that. And to un-F the effery, like I was saying before, it's teaching the girls no shame, no guilt. Like we don't cry over spilled milk. Well, we don't cry over other things either, unless there's no other solutions, right? We're flowing. We're going into our feminine. We're going into our masculine. It's that beautiful balance. It's beautiful yoga. Breathing through. The past is fear. The future is anxiety. And so when we can just stay in the present, it's a win-win because we're present, giving presence as the best gift to anyone could ever have, especially if quality time is your number one love language, like it is mine. And then being present for your kids or for myself, like I'm not going to miss the magical moments. We're all going to just enjoy, yeah, absolutely enjoy every microsecond and cherish every microsecond. So I just say bigger life, bigger problems, but in a magical way, right? Like no low vibration, no drama, just like hurt people. And so when we're living and serving and impact and humanity and like, how can we leave this world a better place? All the other stuff is just like a burr in your saddle, right? A thorn in your arse. And then over here, you're like, I'm still going to levitate. I'm still going to vibrate high. I'm still going to be me. There's going to be haters, but I'm still going to just go and be harmonious to my calling and to my purpose and my legacy. And, like that's a mission right there for moms, right? And even if you're not a mom, a purpose of just giving back, right? If you're feeling down or if you're feeling not great, like go give back. Like living is giving. So
Yeah.
I think that's the legacy.
Love it. So for those listening who want to follow along with you in your journey, where can we find you and follow you and learn more about I Love Me Unconditionally?
Yeah, so that's the website name as well. Thank you for asking. So I Love Me Unconditionally. I think I honestly bought the domain at like 1:11 in the morning. It
Oh,
just came to me and I'm like, oh my gosh, let's go, hurry up. And I sat on it and it was so intentional. Nobody says that out loud. And I just think that's a mantra in itself. Like write that on your mirror in lipstick, right? Or eyeliner. Like I love me unconditionally. And there's something magical about it when you just keep looking at it every single day. And then your actions, like, do I love me unconditionally? Am I gonna eat this, like overly eat, or am I gonna overly drink, or am I gonna not work out or not go to yoga, right? No, because I love me unconditionally and I'm worthy. And I get to choose all of those amazing, beautiful actions.
that's right. So I have three more questions for you as we wrap up. It's kind of like the lightning round at the end of everybody's interview. And the first one is what's bringing you joy today?
I bring myself joy, right? Like my girls bring me joy, but it's a divine energetic connection. My Great Dane barking in the background. I said, if I'm going down with COVID, I'm getting a Great Dane before I go. So this Great Dane is like my own personal, I don't know, icon, legacy, mascot, everything. Gosh, literally divine, just everything. Like connecting with Mother Nature, feeling the feelings, feeling alive. You said alive at the beginning, full circle, feeling alive. And if we're not feeling and having big emotions, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, just feeling it all and not being shameful about it. Living in my life, living in my truth, being me, being authentic. What brings me joy? Working out, yoga, kids, active, living is giving, sharing my journey with you, being here and now with you. That all brings me joy.
Love it. What, if anything, are you reading right now? What's on your bookshelf?
Ooh, so I have um The Undiscovered Goddess. I have Yoga Bitch, Let Them, and I'm such an Audible girl. I'm walking with my Great Dane and listening to Audibles 24/7. So my last Audible was Scattered, and it's a doctor that's massively into ADHD. And it's actually, I think what I'm understanding is ADHD is actually complex PTSD, where it's just emotional deprivation. So because, I know that's a big one. I know.
Wow.
Talk about TBD, like mic drop to the next
Seriously.
episode. Mic
Seriously.
drop. Yeah, emotional deprivation, complex PTSD. So that's what I had. My parents both had ADHD, but I'm actually thinking it's complex PTSD, and people just categorize it in a quick box ADHD, but it's not.
Whoa, that's profound. So I finally have the list of books that everybody has recommended from the 100+ episodes of the Raising Wild Hearts podcast. So if anyone wants to get that list, go to raisingwildhearts.com and get on my mailing list and get the book list. And it's going to be an evolving list because these will be added to the list. And yeah, that sounds amazing. And those are going on it. And then the last question I have for you is who or what has taught you the most, Courtney?
Life lessons, pain, seeking, journeying. Yeah. I couldn't say who. I mean, my parents, they were probably the best. They did the best they could, but I just knew that there was another way. And so they are awesome in their own ways, but there was just room for improvement. And I think we're filling those voids. And that's, that's the whole beautiful, perfect, and complete legacy, divine. So yeah, the connection of just a higher power, that energy, tapping into that, meditation, being quiet with self. Otherwise, if we're too hyper vigilant, I miss my own stuff. I just skip through, and I'm not really in alignment or harmonious. So, yeah, I think it's all of the above. It's like who, what, where, why, how. It's like all of it. Buddha, yeah, Deepak Chopra, Tony Robbins. Love. Dr. Shafali. She is amazing. So I'm actually a conscious certified parenting coach through her program. Unbelievable. I finally read a book where I was like, oh, I'm not crazy, right?
Same.
The radical awakening. Like I was like, I'm in. Finally my people.
That was a
So,
very good book. And her, you know what, that needs to go on
yes.
the list too. And her book, The Conscious Parent, of course, which you guys
Or
have
the
heard me talk
parenting
about before.
roadmap and the parenting roadmap, like
And the
all of
parenting
them.
roadmap. Yeah, they're so good. Her work is amazing.
Good, so good. And it just takes it off of the kids. We go back to self, and it's just a nice, like, oh, we're all learning, but let's just all give each other grace, right? It's just grace. And when we can love unconditionally, there's no judgment. And when there's no judgment, then there's just beautiful compassion, curiosity, and grace. And it's just a lighter, freer, flowing space. Right?
Yeah.
That's it.
So
That's the
true.
juiciness. That's the juiciness right there.
Yeah, it really is. Thank you so much for showing up today in all of your wisdom and sharing it with us.
Thank you, Ryan. So good to see you. And I look forward to our next one because there could be some really fun, extra topics. We could do this all day.
For sure. We could do it all day. We'll definitely have a follow-up. Hey, it's Ryan. What an epic conversation. I hope that you have one or two takeaways that you will keep close to your heart this week as you go out into the world and love yourself, your people, and your communities well. Also, I have a favor to ask that will take you less than 3 minutes. I would be so grateful if you would head over to womenpodcasters.com/awards and vote for me in the Best Personal Development Podcasters category. That's right. I've been nominated for Best Personal Development Podcaster in the 2025 Women Podcasters Awards. You can head to womenpodcasters.com/awards and scroll down to where it says vote, fill out the Google form, and cast your vote for me, Ryan Watkin, host of the Raising Wild Hearts podcast. Thank you so much for your time and for supporting the show, and I will be here next week to dive into another amazing interview with you. Thank you so much for voting, and I will talk to you soon.